I was just a broke nanny until I accidentally texted the most dangerous man in the city instead of my boss. What started as a terrifying mistake turned into a dangerous game of loyalty, protection, and unexpected feelings. But how far would you go when falling for someone who could either save your life or end it? I never meant to be a nanny forever. It was just a job to pay the bills while I took night classes. But here I am, 3 years later, still making peanut butter sandwiches and reading bedtime stories to little Mia. My tiny one-bedroom apartment sits just 5 blocks from the big brownstone where Mia lives with her mom. Every morning, I walk those 5 blocks, stop at Joe's Coffee for my usual latte, and arrive at their front door at exactly 7:30. The doorbell makes the same 3-note chime. I hear the same creak on the 3rd step going up to Mia's room. Some days, I feel more like Mia's mom than her actual mom does. Mrs. Roberts travels a lot for her job. She sells fancy things to rich people in other cities. She leaves me long lists of what Mia can eat, when she should nap, and which fancy kids she should have playdates with. "When is Mommy coming home?" Mia asks me at least twice a day, her big brown eyes looking up at me while I brush her curly hair. "Soon, sweetie," I always say, even when I'm not sure if that's true. Mia's dad is even more absent. I've only met him 3 times in the 3 years I've worked here. He calls himself a business consultant, but whatever business he consults must be very far away. Mia has his same dark eyes and serious look when she's thinking hard about something. My own life feels like it's on pause. My apartment walls are still bare except for a calendar where I mark my work days and class days. My fridge holds enough food for 1 person for 3 days. Never more, never less. My bed is always made, but no one ever sees it except me. At night, after I've gone home and eaten my microwave dinner, I sit by my window and watch people walking by. Couples holding hands, friends laughing together, families hurrying home. I wonder if they're happy, if they feel stuck like I do. My mom calls every Sunday. "Found a boyfriend yet?" she always asks. "No time for that," I always answer. "You're wasting your youth taking care of someone else's child," she says. Maybe she's right. But when Mia falls asleep with her tiny hand holding onto my finger, or when she draws pictures of me standing next to her with a big red heart between us, I don't feel like I'm wasting anything. Still, I dream of something more, something exciting, something that's just mine. I've saved almost enough money to finish my teaching degree, 6 more months of nannying, and I can start my real life. But on quiet nights when the big house feels empty and Mia is sleeping upstairs, I stand in the kitchen and wonder, what if this is all there is? What if my real life never starts? What if I'm always the person who cares for other people's children, lives in a tiny apartment, and drinks the same latte every morning? I never expected anything to change. Until it did. It all started on a rainy Tuesday night. The kind of rain that taps against windows like tiny fingers wanting to come in. Mia had been in bed for 2 hours, her stuffed elephant tucked under her arm just the way she likes it. Mrs. Roberts was away at another sales meeting in Chicago. I was sitting on the fancy couch in the living room, my textbook open on my lap, but my eyes were heavy from a long day. The work phone buzzed on the coffee table. Mrs. Roberts had given me this special phone when I started the job. "Only for work calls and messages," she had said. The screen lit up with a new text message. "Mia's dad." The contact name read. My heart jumped a little. Mr. Roberts never texted me directly. In 3 years, all instructions had come through Mrs. Roberts. "Need you to pick up a package tomorrow. Very important. Don't tell anyone, not even Sarah." Sarah was Mrs. Roberts's first name. This was odd. Why would he ask me not to tell his wife? I bit my lip, thinking. My finger hovered over the phone. I typed back, "Of course, Mr. Roberts. Where should I pick it up?" 3 dots appeared then. 147 Harbor Street, Dock 9. Come at 11 a.m. Bring Mia's birth certificate from the safe. Code is her birthday backwards. The safe? I knew there was a small safe in their home office, but I'd never been told to open it before. This felt wrong, but who was I to question my boss? Maybe it was something for Mia's passport. Mrs. Roberts had mentioned a family trip to Europe this summer. I'll be there, I replied. The next morning, after dropping Mia at preschool, I found the safe behind a painting in the office. My hands shook a little as I punched in Mia's birthday backwards. 7108-1-2. The safe clicked open. Inside was a blue folder labeled Mia. I took out her birth certificate and put it in my bag, then carefully locked everything back up. The address led me to a part of town I'd never been to before. Old warehouses lined the water, their brick walls gray and dirty in the morning light. Dock 9 was marked with faded yellow paint on the ground. I parked my old car and sat there for a minute, my stomach tight with worry. This didn't feel like a place where a business consultant would do business. A black car with dark windows pulled up next to me. A man in a black suit stepped out. He had short hair and wide shoulders. His eyes scanned the area before landing on me. I clutched my bag closer to my chest and got out of my car. "Mr. Roberts sent me," I said, my voice coming out smaller than I wanted. The man frowned. "Who?" "Mr. Roberts. I'm his daughter's nanny. He asked me to bring something." The man's eyes narrowed. He pulled out a phone and made a call, speaking in a language I didn't understand. It sounded rough, with hard edges on each word. Russian, maybe? My heart was beating so fast now I could feel it in my throat. "Wait here," he said, his voice deep and firm. 5 long minutes passed as I stood in the cold air coming off the water. Then another black car arrived. This one was longer, shinier. When the back door opened, a man stepped out who made the first guy look small. He was tall, with dark hair cut short on the sides but longer on top. His suit looked more expensive than my whole apartment. But it was his eyes that made my breath catch. Dark, like the water behind him, watching me like I was a puzzle he was trying to solve. "Who are you?" he asked. His voice had the same accent as the first man, but softer, smoother. "I'm Emma. Mia Roberts's nanny." My voice shook. "Mr. Roberts asked me to bring this to him." I held up the birth certificate. The man's eyebrows went up just a little. "Mr. Roberts asked you to bring his daughter's birth certificate to a shipping dock?" Put that way, it did sound strange. "Yes. He texted me last night." "Show me," he said, holding out his hand. I pulled out the work phone and showed him the text conversation from last night. He read it slowly, his face changing as he scrolled. Then he laughed. But it wasn't a happy laugh. "This number doesn't belong to anyone named Roberts," he said, turning the phone to show me. "This is my personal number." The world seemed to tilt under my feet. "That's impossible. Mrs. Roberts saved this contact herself." "And yet," he said, "you've been texting with me, not your employer." He looked at me harder now. "How long have you worked for the Roberts family?" 3 years, I said, my voice barely a whisper now. "And in those 3 years, has Mr. Roberts ever contacted you directly before?" I shook my head. "Has he been around much lately?" "No, he travels for work. I've only met him 3 times. The man nodded like this made sense to him. "My name is Alexei Volkov, not Roberts. And it seems someone has given you my number and told you it belongs to your boss." My legs felt wobbly. There must be some mistake. "Oh, there's definitely a mistake." His eyes were colder now. "The question is whether it's yours or mine." He held out his hand. "The birth certificate." I hesitated, clutching my bag. "Now, please." His voice was still polite. but with an edge that made it clear this wasn't really a request. I handed over the birth certificate with shaking hands. He opened it, studied it, then handed it to the first man who had met me. "Check this against our records," he said. The man nodded and walked away with Mia's birth certificate. Alexei turned back to me. "Now, Emma, you're going to tell me everything you know about the man who calls himself Mr. Roberts." In that moment, standing on that cold dock with a stranger who somehow had been receiving my work texts for who knows how long, I realized my ordinary life had just become anything but ordinary. They took me to a small room above the warehouse. It wasn't scary like in movies. No chains or dark corners, just a plain room with a desk, 3 chairs, and a window that looked out at the gray water. But it felt scary to me. My hands wouldn't stop shaking, and my mouth was dry like I'd eaten chalk. Alexei sat across from me, his big hands folded on the desk. The other man stood by the door. I couldn't stop looking at the clock on the wall. It was already noon. I needed to pick up Mia at 3 am. "Tell me about Robert Roberts," Alexei said. "There's not much to tell," I answered. "He's hardly ever home. He works in business. Consulting, I think. He travels a lot." "What does he look like?" I tried to picture Mr. Roberts in my head. "Tall, brown hair with some gray, always wears nice suits. He has a small scar above his right eye." Something changed in Alexei's face. "This scar? Was it shaped like a half moon?" I nodded, surprised. "Yes." "How did you know?" He didn't answer my question. Instead, he showed me a picture on his phone. "Is this him?" The face on the screen was Mr. Roberts, but different somehow. His hair was all dark, no gray. He was smiling in a way I'd never seen before, but it was him. "Yes, that's him. But this picture looks old." Alexei put the phone away. "His real name is Robert Kelman. He worked for me for 5 years." "Worked for you? Doing what?" Alexei's eyes met mine. They were dark and deep, like wells. "Nothing you want to know about." Cold fear washed over me like ice water. I suddenly understood who I was talking to. The fancy suits, the men who looked like they could break arms for fun, the secret meetings at warehouses. I'd seen enough TV shows to guess. You're in the Mafia," I whispered. Alexei didn't smile or frown. "I run several businesses. Some are more complicated than others." "And Mr. Roberts? Mr. Kelman? He works for you?" "Worked," Alexei said. "Past tense. He disappeared 6 months ago, along with $5 million of my money." The room seemed to spin around me. $5 million. I couldn't even picture that much money. That was more than I would make in 100 years of nannying. "I need to pick up Mia," I said suddenly. "Her preschool ends at 3 UAU. I can't be late." Alexei checked his watch. "We have time." "You're not keeping me here?" I asked. "Do I look like a kidnapper?" He almost smiled. "But I can't just let you walk away, Emma. You know too much now." "I don't know anything," I said, my voice going high. "I take care of a 4-year-old. I make her lunch and read her stories and take her to the park. That's all I do. And now you know that her father stole from me. That's not nothing." Alexei stood up and walked to the window. "Here's what's going to happen. You'll go back to your job. You'll take care of Mia. Everything will seem normal. And you'll tell me when the Robertses, or whatever name they're using, do anything unusual. If they pack for a trip. If they have visitors. If they talk about moving. Anything." My heart sank like a stone. "You want me to spy on them?" "I want you to report to me," he said. "Like you would to any boss. But Mrs. Roberts is my boss." "Not anymore." He turned back to me. "Now I am." I thought about quitting. Just walking away from all of this. But then I thought about Mia with her big brown eyes and tiny hands. How she needed me. how she'd be scared if I disappeared. "What happens to Mia?" I asked. "She's just a little girl." "She didn't do anything wrong?" Something soft passed over Alexi's face. "Nothing happens to Mia. I don't hurt children. But her father owes me money, not her." Alexi came back to the desk. "So, do we have a deal? You keep doing your job, but you tell me what goes on in that house." What choice did I have? "Yes," I said quietly. "Good." He handed me back the work phone. "I've added my number properly now. Text me every day. If you need help, text the word Blackbird and I'll send someone." "Help? Why would I need help?" Alexi's eyes went hard again. "Because Robert Kellman is not a good man, Emma. And when cornered, bad men do bad things." The first man, who I now knew was called Dimitri, drove me back to my car. The birth certificate was on the passenger seat. "Be careful," Dimitri said as I got in my car. It was the first time he'd spoken directly to me. I drove to Mia's preschool with my mind racing like a hamster wheel. Everything I thought I knew had changed in just a few hours. The normal family I worked for wasn't normal at all. The father was a thief. And now I was working for a man who might be a criminal. Mia ran to me when I walked into her classroom, her little arms wrapping around my legs. "Emma, I made you a picture." I hugged her back, breathing in the smell of apple juice and crayons in her hair. She felt solid and real when everything else seemed to be made of smoke. "It's beautiful, sweetie," I said, looking at the scribbles of purple and green. "Let's go home." Home. The word stuck in my throat. The Roberts house didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like a place where secrets hid behind the fancy furniture and pretty curtains. That night, after Mia was asleep, I sat in the kitchen with all the lights off, except for the small one above the stove. The house made its usual night sounds: the hum of the refrigerator, the tick of the big clock in the hall, the soft whoosh of the heating system turning on and off. My phone, my personal phone, not the work one, buzzed with a text from my mom. "How was your day?" I stared at those 4 simple words. How could I answer that? How could I explain that I had crossed over into a world I didn't understand? That I was now caught between a man who had stolen millions and the dangerous man he had stolen from? I texted back, "Fine. Just another day taking care of Mia." The biggest lie I had ever told. The work phone buzzed next. A text from Alexei. "Sleep well, Emma. Tomorrow is a new day." I put both phones face down on the table and pressed my hands against my eyes. I had no idea what to do next. No idea how to navigate this strange new world I had stumbled into. The only thing I knew for sure was that I would protect Mia, no matter what. Even if it meant dancing with the devil himself. The next 2 weeks felt like walking on ice. Every step was careful, every move planned. I would wake up at 6 a.m., get ready, and be at the Roberts house by 7:30 a.m. But now I looked at everything with new eyes, the fancy paintings on the walls. Were they bought with stolen money? The pretty vases and silver picture frames? Did Mrs. Roberts know where they came from? Every night after putting Mia to bed, I would text Alexei. Simple things at first. Normal day, Mrs. and Roberts working late. Mia had a playdate with Amy from her class. No visitors today. His replies were just as short. Good, keep watching. Make sure you know the parents. Text if anything changes. But slowly, our talks began to change. One night, Mia had a bad dream. She woke up crying about monsters under her bed. I checked every corner of her room, but she wouldn't go back to sleep. Finally, I lay down next to her, stroking her hair until her breathing slowed and she drifted off. I texted Alexei, "Mia had a bad dream tonight. She's scared her daddy isn't coming back." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, "Is she okay now?" Something warm and strange moved in my chest. He cared about her answer. "Yes, Sleeping now. I stayed with her until she fell asleep. You're good with her. That matters. After that, our messages changed. He would ask about Mia, what she liked to eat, what made her laugh, what stories she enjoyed. I found myself looking forward to our nightly talks. One day at the park, a bigger boy pushed Mia off the swing. She fell hard on her knee, tearing her tights and scraping her skin. She cried all the way home, big tears rolling down her red cheeks. I cleaned the cut, put on a Band-Aid with puppies on it, and gave her a cookie. But she still sniffled through dinner. When I texted Alexei about it, his answer came fast. Which park? What did the boy look like? Did you talk to his parents? I told him it was just kids being kids. An accident. But 20 minutes later, the doorbell rang. A man in a black coat stood there holding a stuffed bear almost as big as Mia. Mr. Volkov sent this, he said, handing it to me. The next day, an older man with kind eyes and gray hair knocked on the door. I'm Dr. Petrov, he said. Mr. Volkov asked me to check on Mia's knee. It's just a scrape, I said, confused. Mr. Volkov does not take chances with children's health, the doctor replied. After examining Mia's knee, which was already healing fine, Dr. Petrov gave her a lollipop and smiled at her drawing. As he was leaving, he turned to me. You know, I've worked for Mr. Volkov for 15 years. This is the first time he's sent me to check on a child who isn't family. I didn't know what to do with that information. I didn't want to think about what it might mean. A few nights later, Mrs. Roberts came home early. She went straight to her office and closed the door. I could hear her talking on the phone, her voice rising and falling behind the thick wood. When she came out an hour later, her face was pale. Emma, I need to go to Boston tomorrow, she said, not quite looking at me. Last-minute business. Can you stay with Mia overnight? I'll pay extra, of course. Of course, I said, watching her hands fidget with her necklace, something she only did when she was nervous. That night, I texted Alexei. Mrs. R going to Boston tomorrow. Last-minute trip. Seemed upset after a phone call. His reply was instant. What time is she leaving? Morning flight, I think, around 8:30. I need to see you, tonight. My heart jumped to my throat. I can't leave Mia alone. After she's asleep, my driver will pick you up at 9 LA. 2 hours, then back home. The house will be watched. I should have said no. But I was curious, and maybe something more than curious. At exactly 9 HAL, a black car pulled up outside. The driver didn't speak, just opened the door and drove me through the dark streets. The restaurant was small and dimly lit, with only 5 tables inside. A sign on the door said, "Closed for private event." Alexei waited at the farthest table, standing when I walked in. He looked different here, away from the warehouse. Still dangerous, maybe, but in a way that made my skin tingle rather than my stomach knot with fear. He wore a dark blue suit that fit him perfectly. His hair was combed back, showing the strong lines of his face. "Thank you for coming," he said, pulling out my chair. "You didn't give me much choice," I reminded him. He almost smiled. "True, but you could have ignored me." "Could I?" I asked, meeting his eyes. This time he did smile. It changed his whole face, softening the hard edges. "No. Probably not." The food arrived without us ordering. Plates of things I'd never tried before. Tiny pancakes with shiny black eggs on top. Warm soup that tasted like the earth and the ocean mixed together. Meat so tender it fell apart when I touched it with my fork. "Tell me about yourself, Emma," he said as we ate. "Not about the Roberts, about you." So I did. I told him about growing up in a small town 3 hours away, about my mom who worked at the library and my dad who fixed cars, about coming to the city for college but running out of money after 2 years, about my dream of finishing school someday and becoming a teacher. He listened, like every word mattered, like I mattered. No one had listened to me like that in a long time. "Why do you care about Mia so much?" I asked him when I ran out of things to say about myself. "She's not your family." Alexei was quiet for a long time, then, "I had a niece once, my sister's daughter. She would be about Mia's age now." "Had?" "They died. Cancer. Both of them." His voice was flat, but I could feel the pain underneath. "My sister first. Then Katya. 6 months later." "I'm so sorry," I whispered. "It was a long time ago." But the look in his eyes said it wasn't long enough. After dinner, we walked along the river. The city lights reflected in the water like fallen stars. The night air was cool against my skin. "Mrs. Roberts is running," Alexei said suddenly. "The trip to Boston is a lie." "How do you know?" "I know." His voice was certain. "Robert has contacted her. They're planning to leave. Maybe not tomorrow, but soon." "What will you do?" He stopped walking and turned to face me. We were standing under a streetlight, its glow making a small circle around us. "What I have to do. But Mia will not be hurt. And neither will you." "Why do you care what happens to me?" I asked, my voice smaller than I wanted it to be. His hand moved, just slightly, like he might reach for mine, but he stopped himself. "You're different, Emma. You see people. Really see them." "I see you," I said before I could stop myself. The look that crossed his face then was so open, so surprised, that for a moment he seemed younger. Less like a dangerous man, and more like a regular person who wasn't used to being seen at all. The moment stretched between us, fragile as a soap bubble. Then his phone buzzed, breaking the spell. He checked it and his face changed back to the hard mask I first saw at the warehouse. "Time to take you home," he said, his voice cool again. "We'll talk more tomorrow." The drive back was quiet. When we reached the Roberts house, Alexei's driver handed me a small box. "From Mr. Volkov?" he said. Inside was a delicate silver bracelet with a tiny charm. A bird with its wings spread wide. A blackbird. The code word Alexei had given me if I ever needed help. I slept with my hand curled around it that night, dreaming of dark eyes and fallen stars, wondering how I had gone from being scared of this man to something much more complicated in just 2 short weeks. Mrs. Roberts came home from her Boston trip 3 days later with a fake smile and a new nervousness that made her jump at small sounds. She brought Mia a stuffed penguin that still had its Boston gift shop tag, but I noticed the airport sticker on her suitcase said, Chicago. I texted this to Alexei that night while Mia played with her new toy. "Keep watching," he replied. "Things will move quickly now." He was right. The very next morning, Mrs. Roberts made 3 long phone calls in her office with the door closed. After lunch, she asked me to take Mia to the park for at least 2 hours. "I have an important video meeting," she said, not meeting my eyes. At the park, I pushed Mia on the swings while keeping one eye on my phone. Alexei had been texting me updates all day. 2 men visited the house, left with a small bag. Sarah made a large bank withdrawal this morning. Plane tickets purchased for tomorrow night. 3 seats. 3 seats. That meant Mia, too. My heart felt heavy as I watched her laughing on the swing, her legs kicking at the sky. She had no idea her whole life was about to change again. When we got back to the house, there was a strange car in the driveway, a silver SUV I'd never seen before. Mrs. Roberts met us at the door with that same tight smile. "Emma, this is my cousin Jack," she said, gesturing to a tall man standing in the living room. "He's visiting for a few days." The man nodded at me. He had a hard face with small eyes that didn't match his friendly smile. I didn't believe for 1 second that he was Mrs. Roberts's cousin. His hands were rough and his neck had a tattoo peeking out from his collar. A small gun. Not the kind of tattoo a business cousin would have. "Nice to meet you," I said, my mouth dry. "Jack will be staying in the guest room," Mrs. Roberts continued, "so you don't need to spend the night this week. I'll have plenty of help." I looked at Cousin Jack and felt cold all over. He wasn't family, he was protection. But protection from what? From who? From Alexei, I realized with a start. Mrs. Roberts knew someone was watching her. I texted Alexei as soon as I got to my car. "A man is staying at the house. She says he's her cousin, but I think he's security, has a gun tattoo on his neck." The 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then, "Do not go back to that house. It's not safe." My hands shook as I typed back. "But Mia..." "We're watching the house. The man is Viktor Grekov. He's dangerous. Stay away." I didn't text back. I couldn't just abandon Mia, no matter what Alexei said. So the next morning, I showed up for work at my usual time. Mrs. Roberts seemed surprised to see me. "Emma, I thought I told you we wouldn't need you until next week." "You said I didn't need to spend the night," I corrected her. "Not that you didn't need me at all. Mia has swim class today, remember?" Her eyes darted to the stairs where Cousin Jack was coming down. He frowned when he saw me. "Fine," Mrs. Roberts sighed, "but please bring her straight home after swimming. No park today." Mia was happy to see me, wrapping her little arms around my legs in a tight hug. "Emma, Cousin Jack is boring. He doesn't know how to play Princess Tea Party." I laughed despite my nerves. "Well, let's get you ready for swim class. And maybe we can play Princess Tea Party later." As I helped Mia put on her swimsuit under her clothes, I noticed a small suitcase half hidden in her closet. It was already packed with her favorite clothes and toys. My stomach twisted. They were definitely planning to leave soon. At the swim center, I sat on a bench watching Mia splash with the other kids. My phone buzzed with a text from Alexei. "Where are you? I told you to stay away from the house." "At Mia's swim class," I texted back. "I couldn't just not show up." 3 dots then. "Which swim center?" "Address." I told him, not sure why he needed to know. 10 minutes later, a woman sat down next to me on the bench. She was in her 50s with short gray hair and kind eyes behind stylish glasses. "Hello, Emma," she said quietly. "I'm Irina. Alexei sent me." I looked around, nervous that someone might be listening. "Why?" "To talk sense into you." She sighed. "The Roberts house is not safe right now. Viktor Grekov is not a security guard. He's a killer who works for the Petrovich family." "The who?" "Rival organization," she said simply. "If Robert stole from Alexei, he might have stolen from them too. Or made promises he couldn't keep." She looked out at the pool where Mia was learning to float on her back. "That little girl is caught in the middle of something very dangerous." "So what do I do?" I asked, my voice cracking. "I can't just leave her." Irina patted my hand. "No one's asking you to abandon her. But you need to be smart about how you protect her." She slipped a small object into my pocket. "If things get bad, press this button. Help will come in under 3 minutes." After swim class, I took Mia for ice cream even though Mrs. Roberts had said to bring her straight home. I needed time to think. Mia happily licked her chocolate cone, getting it all over her face and hands. "Are we going on a trip?" I asked her casually as I wiped ice cream from her chin. Mia's eyes got big. "Mommy said it's a secret. How did you know?" "Just a lucky guess," I said, my heart sinking. "Where are you going?" "Mommy said, I think it's called Mexico, and we're going on a big plane." Mexico. Far away and easy to disappear in. I texted Alexei this information as soon as I got Mia back in the car. When we pulled into the driveway, Mrs. Roberts was waiting at the door, arms crossed. "You're late. I told you to come straight home." Sorry, I said. Mia wanted ice cream after swimming. She did so well today. Mrs. Roberts's face softened a little as she looked at her daughter. Go wash up, sweetie. Lunch is ready. As Mia ran inside, Mrs. Roberts grabbed my arm. Emma, I need you to listen carefully. I won't need you tomorrow. Or the next day. In fact, I think we should take a break for a while. Are you firing me? I asked, pretending to be surprised. No, just taking some family time. Her eyes darted around nervously. I'll pay you for the full month, of course. I nodded slowly. Is everything okay, Mrs. Roberts? You seem worried. Her fake smile came back. Everything's fine, just fine. We just need some time, that's all. As I walked to my car, I felt Cousin Jack's eyes on me from the upstairs window. A shiver ran down my back. I got in my car and drove away, but only went around the block. Then I parked where I could see the Roberts house and called Alexei. He answered on the first ring. Are you safe? Yes, but they're leaving soon. Tomorrow, I think. Mrs. Roberts just told me not to come back. My voice broke a little. I'm scared for Mia. Don't be. We're watching the house. No one will hurt her. His voice was firm, sure. But I need you to stay away now, Emma. Viktor Grekov has killed people for much less than what you know. But, no buts. Go home. Lock your doors. Wait for my call. I wanted to argue, but the fear in my stomach told me he was right. Whatever was coming next was beyond my ability to handle. I was just a nanny, not a spy or a criminal or whatever I had been pretending to be these past weeks. I drove home slowly, my eyes filling with tears. For 3 years I had taken care of Mia. I had bandaged her knees and read her stories and held her when she cried. And now I might never see her again. My apartment felt empty and cold when I got home. I locked the door, then pushed my dresser in front of it just to be sure. The small button Irina had given me was in my pocket. I placed it on my nightstand where I could reach it easily. Then I sat on my bed, holding the silver bracelet with the blackbird charm, and waited for whatever would happen next. I couldn't sleep that night. Every car that drove by made me jump. Every creak in my old apartment building sounded like footsteps. I checked my phone every 5 minutes, but Alexei didn't call or text. At 3 a.m, I finally fell into a restless sleep, only to be jolted awake by my alarm at 7. The first thing I did was check my phone. One new message from Alexei. They're still there. Stay home. I made coffee and tried to focus on my textbook. I had a test in my child development class next week. But the words swam on the page and all I could think about was Mia. Was she scared? Did she understand what was happening? Had she asked where I was? Around noon, a knock at my door made me freeze. I tiptoed to the peephole and saw Dmitri, Alexei's driver, standing in the hallway. Mr. Volkov sent me, he said when I opened the door a tiny crack. He wants me to take you to him. Where is he? At his home. I hesitated. Going to Alexei's house felt like crossing another line, but I needed to know what was happening with Mia. I grabbed my coat and followed Dmitri to the black car. Alexei's house wasn't what I expected. I thought it would be a huge mansion with gates and guards. Instead, it was a brownstone not too different from the Roberts home, though in a much fancier neighborhood. The only sign that someone important lived there was the man who stood discreetly by the door, his suit jacket not quite hiding the gun at his side. Inside, the house was beautiful but not flashy. Warm wood floors, cream-colored walls, and furniture that looked expensive but comfortable. Alexei was waiting in what looked like a home office, standing by a wall of screens. Each screen showed a different view of the Roberts house. They haven't left yet, he said without turning around. Their flight is at 8 p.m. tonight. How do you know that? Now he turned to look at me. He was wearing jeans and a simple black sweater. It made him look younger, less intimidating. I have my ways. What are you going to do when they try to leave? Stop them. A cold feeling spread through my chest. What does that mean? Will you hurt them? Alexei's eyes narrowed slightly. I want my money back, Emma. $5 million. Robert will pay what he owes me. And Mrs. Roberts? And Mia? Sarah Roberts knew exactly what her husband was doing. She's not innocent. He must have seen the horror on my face because he added, but I don't hurt women or children. They'll be free to go once I have what's mine. I walked closer to the screens. On one of them, I could see Mia playing in the backyard with her new stuffed penguin. Cousin Jack was watching her from the patio door. She looks so small, I whispered. Alexei stood beside me, his eyes on the screen too. She reminds me of my niece. You said she died. Yes, leukemia. She was 4. His voice was flat, but I could feel the old pain in it. We tried everything, the best doctors, experimental treatments. Nothing worked. I'm sorry, I said again, not knowing what else to say. It was a long time ago. He turned away from the screen. Are you hungry? I can have lunch brought in. We ate sandwiches at a small table in the kitchen. It felt strangely normal, sitting there with Alexei, like we were just 2 regular people having lunch. Not a nanny who had stumbled into a dangerous world and a man who… What was Alexei exactly? A criminal? A businessman? Both? Tell me the truth, I said suddenly. What do you do? Really? Alexei took a sip of his water before answering. I run several legitimate businesses, import-export, real estate, a shipping company. And the not-so-legitimate businesses? His eyes met mine. Do you really want to know? I thought about it. Did I? Would knowing make me an accomplice somehow? But I was already involved, whether I wanted to be or not. Yes, I said. I want to know who I'm dealing with. I provide services that people need but can't get through normal channels. Sometimes I move things from one place to another without the government knowing. Sometimes I lend money to people who can't get bank loans. Like Robert? Like Robert. Alexei nodded. He came to me 5 years ago, needing money for a business deal. I lent it to him. He paid me back with interest. Then another deal. Another loan. Over time, I trusted him. He worked for me, handling some of my money movements. And then, 6 months ago, he disappeared with $5 million. And Mrs. Roberts? She knew. She helped him plan it. They thought they could disappear? Start fresh somewhere else with my money? I pushed my plate away, no longer hungry. Where does that leave me and Mia? You've done nothing wrong, Emma. Once this is over, you can go back to your life, finish school, become a teacher. He paused. As for Mia, that depends on her parents. If they cooperate, they might all go free. If not… If not what? I demanded. Robert might go to prison. For theft. Not because of anything I do. He added quickly. I have friends in the FBI who would be very interested in what Robert has been up to. The FBI. The word landed like a stone in my stomach. This was all real. Really real. Not a TV show or a book. Real people. Real crimes. Real danger. And somehow, I was in the middle of it all. I need some air, I said, standing up suddenly. Alexei nodded to a door. There's a small garden out back. The garden was beautiful, with roses just starting to bloom and a small fountain bubbling in the center. I sat on a stone bench and tried to breathe normally. What was I doing here? How had my simple life as a nanny turned into this? After a few minutes, Alexei came outside. He sat beside me on the bench. Not too close, but close enough that I could smell his cologne, something clean and woody. I know this is a lot, he said quietly. You didn't ask for any of this. No, I didn't. I looked at him. But neither did you. You didn't ask for Robert to steal from you. True. A small smile touched his lips. Life rarely asks our permission before it changes. We sat in silence for a while, listening to the fountain. Then his phone buzzed. He looked at it, his face darkening. They're moving. Packing the car. We hurried back inside to the office. On the screens, I could see Mrs. Roberts putting suitcases in the trunk of the silver SUV. Mia was already buckled in the back seat, holding her penguin. They're leaving early, Alexei said, picking up his own phone. Dmitri, get the car, now. What are you going to do? I asked, panic rising in my throat. Intercept them before they reach the airport. Let me come with you, I said without thinking. Mia will be scared. She knows me. Alexei looked at me for a long moment. It could be dangerous. I don't care. I need to be there for her. He hesitated, then nodded. Stay close to me. Do exactly as I say. We hurried out to the car where Dmitri was waiting. 2 more black cars were behind us, each with men inside. As we drove, Alexei gave orders on his phone, his voice cool and certain. My mind was racing. What was I doing? This wasn't me. I wasn't brave or tough or whatever I was pretending to be. I was just a nanny who wanted to finish school and have a normal life. But as we drove toward what might be a dangerous confrontation, I realized something had changed in me these past weeks. I wasn't just a nanny anymore. I was someone who made choices. Hard choices. And right now, I was choosing to be there for a little girl who needed me, even if it meant putting myself in danger. Even if it meant siding with a man who might be a criminal, but who had shown me more respect and honesty than Mia's own parents had. They're on the Henry Hudson Parkway, Dmitri said, turning the car sharply. Alexei nodded. We'll catch them at the next exit. I gripped the door handle, my knuckles white. What would happen next? Would there be a fight? Guns? Would Mia see it all? Alexei, I said, my voice shaking. Promise me Mia won't get hurt. Promise me she won't see anything bad. His hand covered mine briefly. It was warm and strong. I promise. No harm will come to Mia. I believed him. Maybe I shouldn't have, but I did. And in that moment, as we raced toward a confrontation I couldn't fully imagine, I realized I trusted Alexei more than I had ever trusted the Robertses. What did that say about me? About the person I was becoming? I didn't have time to answer those questions. Up ahead, brake lights flashed red as traffic slowed. And there, 3 cars ahead of us, was the silver SUV with Mia inside. Everything happened so fast. Dmitri pulled our car alongside the silver SUV. Another black car moved in front, forcing it to slow down. Mrs. Roberts's face turned white when she saw us. Cousin Jack reached inside his jacket, but Alexei's men were already surrounding the car. Stay here, Alexei ordered me, his voice hard as stone. He got out and walked to the SUV, his back straight, his steps slow and sure. I couldn't hear what was said. I could only see Mrs. Roberts shaking her head, her mouth a tight line. Cousin Jack looked like he wanted to fight, but there were too many of Alexei's men around. Then I saw Mia in the back seat, her little face pressed against the window, eyes wide with fear. I couldn't stay in the car. I couldn't. I opened the door and ran to the SUV. Emma! Alexei's voice was sharp, but I ignored him. I tapped on Mia's window. She saw me and her whole face lit up. Emma! She shouted, her voice muffled by the glass. Mrs. Roberts's head whipped around. She looked at me with such hatred that I stepped back. You! She hissed through the barely open window. You did this. I just want to make sure Mia is okay, I said. She's fine. She's with her mother. Go away. But Mia was crying now, reaching for me. Emma! I want Emma! Alexei appeared beside me. Let her talk to the child, he told Mrs. Roberts. His voice was quiet but had steel behind it. It will keep her calm while we discuss things. Mrs. Roberts hesitated, then nodded sharply. The back door unlocked with a click. I opened it and slid in next to Mia, who threw her arms around me. I missed you, Emma. Mommy said you were sick. I'm all better now, I said, hugging her tight. Her hair smelled like the strawberry shampoo I always used. Are you okay? She nodded. We're going on a trip, on a big airplane. She leaned in close to whisper. I'm scared of airplanes. They're loud. It's okay to be scared, I told her. Everyone gets scared sometimes. Outside the car, Alexei and Mrs. Roberts were still talking. Cousin Jack had been moved to one of the black cars. More cars had stopped on the highway, people slowing down to look at what was happening. Someone might call the police soon. Mrs. Roberts, I said, leaning forward. Please, just give Alexei what he wants. For Mia's sake. Her eyes flashed. You have no idea what you're talking about. You're just a nanny. The words stung, but I didn't back down. I know that Mia deserves better than to see her mother arrested. Or worse. Something shifted in her face. Fear, maybe. Or the realization that she was trapped. Fine, she said to Alexei. I'll take you to it, but not with Mia. Alexei looked at me. Can you take care of her? Keep her safe? My heart pounded. This was it. A moment of choosing. If I said yes, I would be fully part of this. No more pretending I was just caught in the middle. I would be choosing a side. Alexei's side. Yes, I said. I'll keep her safe. Mrs. Roberts made an angry sound. You can't just take my daughter. It's either me or the police, Alexei said calmly. Your choice. She glared at him, then at me. Finally, she turned to look at Mia. Something soft passed over her face, a mother's love breaking through all the anger and fear. Mia, sweetie, she said, her voice gentler now. You're going to go with Emma for a little while. Mommy has some business to take care of. Mia looked confused. But our trip? The airplane? We'll go another time, I promise. Mrs. Roberts leaned back and kissed Mia's forehead. Be good for Emma, okay? Okay, Mommy. Dmitri came and helped us out of the SUV. He led us to a different black car, away from the others. Mr. Volkov says to take you to his house, he told me. You'll be safe there. As we drove away, I looked back through the rear window. Alexei was still talking to Mrs. Roberts. His face was calm, but his body was tense, like a tiger ready to pounce. Emma, who was that man? Mia asked, playing with the straps of her small backpack. A friend of mine, I said, not knowing how else to explain. He's helping your mom with something important. He looked scary. Sometimes people look scary, but they're actually nice, I told her, hoping it was true. Hoping I hadn't just made the biggest mistake of my life. At Alexei's house, a kind-faced older woman named Mrs. Petrov was waiting for us. Mr. Volkov called ahead, she explained. I've prepared a room for the little one, and there are cookies in the kitchen. The next few hours felt strangely normal. Mia and I baked more cookies with Mrs. Petrov. We read stories from books that had belonged to Alexei's niece, still perfectly preserved on a shelf in what had been her room. We watched cartoons on a huge TV that took up almost an entire wall. But the whole time, my stomach was in knots. What was happening with Alexei and Mrs. Roberts? What about Cousin Jack? And where was Mr. Roberts in all of this? It was almost midnight when Alexei finally came home. Mia was asleep in the guest room, curled up around her stuffed penguin. I was sitting in the living room, too nervous to sleep. He looked tired. There was a small cut above his right eye that hadn't been there before. What happened? I asked, jumping up from the couch. Are you okay? I'm fine, he said, touching the cut like he'd forgotten it was there. Just a small disagreement with Victor. Did you get your money back? Alexei sank onto the couch. Some of it. The rest is in accounts I can't access yet. But I will. And Mrs. Roberts? She's at a hotel downtown. Under guard. He rubbed his eyes. She claims she didn't know what Robert was doing until after he'd taken the money. She says he forced her to help him. Do you believe her? No. But it doesn't matter now. He looked up at me. What matters is what happens next. I sat down beside him, suddenly very aware of how close we were. What does happen next? That depends on you, Emma. He turned to face me. The FBI will be involved now. Robert crossed too many lines. There will be questions, investigations. About the money? About everything. Including your part in this. His eyes were serious. You helped me today. You chose a side. Fear coursed through me. Will I go to jail? No. His voice was firm. I won't let that happen. But you'll need to make a statement. Tell them what you know. Everything I know? I asked, thinking of all the things I'd learned about Alexei and his business. He was quiet for a moment. You should tell the truth, Emma. About Robert and Sarah Roberts. About how they used you. He paused. As for me, you should say what you feel is right. The weight of his words pressed on my chest. He was letting me choose. I could tell the FBI everything about him. His businesses, his men, the things I suspected he did that weren't legal. Or I could protect him. Tell only what I needed to about the Robertses. Why? I whispered. Why would you let me decide? His hand moved slowly until his fingers just barely touched mine on the couch between us. Because I trust you to make the right choice. For yourself. For Mia. His eyes met mine. For us. Us. Such a small word. 2 letters that somehow contained a whole future I hadn't even known I wanted until that moment. What about Mia? I asked, my voice shaking a little. What happens to her? That depends on what happens to her parents. If Sarah cooperates, she might avoid jail. If not, he left the sentence hanging. She could lose custody. I finished. Yes. And then what? She has no other family that we could find. Alexei's fingers moved against mine, a gentle touch that sent warmth up my arm. But she has you. The thought hit me like a wave, taking care of Mia not as a nanny, but as something more. Being responsible for her completely, it was terrifying, and yet... I would do it, I said, surprising myself with how sure I felt. If it came to that, I would take care of her. Alexei's face softened. I know you would. A sound from upstairs made us both look up. Mia stood at the top of the stairs in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes. Emma? She called, her voice small and sleepy. I had a bad dream. I got up from the couch. I'm coming, sweetie. As I passed Alexei, he caught my hand. Whatever you decide to tell the FBI, he said quietly, know that I'll respect your choice. I squeezed his hand, feeling the strength in it, the warmth. Then I went upstairs to comfort a little girl who needed me more than anyone ever had before. That night, as I lay beside Mia in the guest room, listening to her steady breathing, I made my choice. I would tell the FBI what they needed to know about the Robertses, but Alexei, I would protect him as much as I could, not because I was afraid of him, but because in the strangest way, he had protected me, had seen me as more than just a nanny, had given me a choice when no one else had. Tomorrow would bring the FBI, questions, hard truths. But tonight, in the quiet darkness of Alexei's house, with Mia sleeping peacefully beside me, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. And maybe, just maybe, the beginning of something new. 5 years later, I stood in the doorway watching Mia twirl in front of the mirror, her new dress spinning around her knees. Do I look pretty? she asked, her brown eyes, so like her father's, looking to me for approval. Beautiful, I said, my heart full. At 9 years old, she was growing up too fast. Her face was losing its baby roundness, her opinions getting stronger every day. But she still needed me, and I needed her. Is Papa Alex coming to my recital? She asked, adjusting the bow in her hair. Of course he is. I smiled. He wouldn't miss it for the world. Alexei, Papa Alex to Mia, had been true to his word all those years ago. He had protected us both. When the FBI came, I told them what I knew about the Robertses, how they had planned to flee the country with stolen money. I left out the parts about Alexei's businesses that weren't strictly legal. Instead, I portrayed him as a businessman who had been wronged. In the end, Robert Kellman was found in Mexico and extradited back to the United States. He went to prison for embezzlement and fraud. Mrs. Roberts made a deal with prosecutors, testifying against her husband in exchange for a lighter sentence, just 18 months. But she lost something more precious than her freedom. She lost Mia. The court decided she was unfit to be a mother. Too many lies, too much risk. No family to take Mia in. That's when Alexei used his connections, his money, his lawyers, everything he had to help me become Mia's legal guardian. And later, when Mrs. Roberts signed away her parental rights from prison, I adopted Mia as my own. Alexei was there every step of the way. First as a friend, then as something more. He came for dinner once a week. He took us to the zoo, to museums, to the park. He helped Mia with her math homework and read her bedtime stories when I was too tired. Slowly, carefully, he became part of our lives. 2 years ago, in the garden behind his house, our house now, he asked me to marry him. Mia stood nearby, holding the ring box, grinning so wide I thought her face might split in two. Say yes, Emma, she had whispered loudly. Please say yes. I did. Of course I did. Alexei's business had changed over the years. The less legal parts had been shed, replaced by legitimate enterprises. He still had power, still had money, still had men who would do anything for him. But he used it differently now. To protect, to build, to create a future for his family, for us. The doorbell rang, pulling me back to the present. Papa's here, Mia shouted, running down the stairs. I followed more slowly, my hand resting on my growing belly. 5 months along now, our little boy kicking more every day. Another twist in a life that had taken so many unexpected turns. Alexei stood in the entrance hall, still in his work suit, a bouquet of flowers in one hand. His face lit up when he saw Mia running toward him. There's my star, he said, lifting her high in the air as she giggled. Ready for your big performance? I practiced all day, she said proudly. Even the hard part. He set her down and turned to me, his eyes softening as they always did when he looked at me. 5 years, and that look still made my heart flutter. And how are my wife and son today? He asked, his hand joining mine on my belly. Active, I said, smiling. He's going to be a dancer like his big sister. Alexei leaned down to kiss me, gentle and warm. I wouldn't be surprised. With you as his mother, he could be anything. As we walked out to the car, Mia skipping ahead with her dance bag, Alexei took my hand. Happy? He asked quietly. I thought about that day on the dock 5 years ago. How terrified I had been, how lost. I thought about all the choices I had made since then, some hard, some easy, all leading me here. To this life that was nothing like what I had planned, but everything I needed. Very, I said, squeezing his hand. You? The smile that had once been so rare now came easily to his face. More than I ever thought possible. Mia turned back to us, impatient. Come on, I can't be late. Alexei laughed, a deep, rich sound I never tired of hearing. "The princess commands," he said, opening the car door for her with a bow that made her giggle. As we drove to the dance studio, I looked at my little family, the dangerous man who had become my husband, the lost girl who had become my daughter, and the new life growing inside me. None of it was what I had expected. But sometimes the wrong number turns out to be exactly the right one. Sometimes the most terrifying mistake leads to the greatest happiness, and sometimes, just sometimes, the most dangerous man in the city turns out to be the safest place you could ever call home.